Great. Now let's run through the Iric mileposts of this particular company. Now, Iric is an acronym which basically stands for Infrastructure, Revenue, Intellectual Capital, and Client Mileposts. Now, let's run through a visualization. As you can see, the company has a global presence. It has 12 operations or delivery centers across the globe. And this is aided by 3 technology incubation hubs across the globe. And of course, every other sales effort is complemented by having these 21 sales offices spread across various countries across the continents that it targets, largely North America and Europe. And then it has a team strength of some around 30,000 plus people across 36 global locations. Yep. And then the culture of the company is supposedly equal opportunity, pro-diversity, meritocratic, pro-human centric culture. Pro-human is important because it's out there in the vision also, so it comes as no surprise to have a culture which focuses and enunciates and highlights a pro-human centric culture. And when it comes to the revenue generation, I mean the peak revenue generation, which happened somewhere around 2015, and that's the time we're going to be discussing this case study about, was 2.4 billion US dollars. It saw EBITDA at 28%, which is fantastic, and it had a cumulative annual growth rate recorded at 36%. So as you can see, it's a pretty well-rounded business entity when it comes to its global presence, when it comes to the kind of emphasis it lays on technology development and incubation. I mean, 3 technology incubation hubs for a company which has 30,000 people. I mean, it's like having one hub for 10,000 people, which is pretty decent at this scale. And then of course all this complemented by 21 sales offices, and this is somehow reflected in the kind of technological prowess that this company has, is reflected in its revenues, which are pretty decent. And then EBITDA, when you talk about earnings before so many other factors that we talk about, before interest, taxation, depreciation, and amortization and stuff, all these financial terms, we're not going to be discussing them in detail out there because that's not the focus of this case study, is at 28%, which is quite a decent earning matrix. And then you have this company growing at a cumulative annual growth rate of 36%, which is fantastic. I mean, it's very impressive. And then when we talk about the revenue split globally about this company, as you can see, it's dominated by 2, largely by North America, but Asia is a close second, almost at half of what North America does. So basically, it hits North America at 55% of the entire revenue generation globally. And then it has Asia, which is largely China and Southeast Asian countries like Japan, Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia, and stuff. So, and of course, Korea, that's where it draws out 21% of its annual global revenues. And then you have Middle East and rest of the world sharing the spoils at an equal percentage, which is 12%. So interestingly, Europe does not figure substantially into the scheme of these things, neither does South America or Australia. And of course, Africa is not to be seen either. Now, all that Africa, Australia, and Europe happens to be here. So it's a very surprising omission for Europe because 50 odd countries out here, you have hundreds and thousands of industries out here which deal with technology. So that's one of the reasons the company was compelled to go for a market assessment exercise for its product lineup, the technology intelligence and IP solutions product lineup, product portfolio, the services and solutions portfolio in Europe. And we'll get to understand the genesis further as we move ahead, while our understanding gets exponentially enhanced about what this company does. So when it comes to the clientele, basically, TILS, it caters to a clientele across the Fortune 1000, 500, 200, 150, as well as FTSE 200, 100 brackets across North America, Asia, and Middle East. Of course, it has an inconsequential presence across Africa, South America, Australia, and Europe too. As you can see for yourself, it has 51 Fortune 100 clients, which is impressive. 84 Fortune 500 clients, again very impressive. And then out of Fortune 50, 27 of the Fortune 50 entities are part of the clientele of this company. And all this is really very impressive by any standard. And now let's move on and let's try and understand what the financial performance has been like for this company. So as you know, we are going to be talking about the year 2015 because that's the year when this case study was set up. I mean, that's the environment we're going to be talking about, which is just 4 years back. So at that point of time, the company was able to generate revenues in excess of $2.4 billion in sales alone. And then the company was able to record a recurring operating margin of 15.65, which is way too impressive. And then when we talk about recurring earnings per share, it clocked somewhere around 5.63 US dollars. And accordingly, there was a huge dividend per share payout, fine, which hit somewhere around 3.67 USD. Overall, the sales growth as compared to the last year was clocking itself at 7.81%, which is almost 18%. That again is fantabulous in this kind of an industry, which deals with pretty rarefied, competence spectrum like technology intelligence and technology platforms and technology licensing solutions and stuff like that. So all of this saw the company hitting a recurring operating margin expansion of 56 BPS, which is wow. At when we talk about reps at a constant exchange rate, you have it at 16.72% on a positive scale, which is fantabulous. And by virtue of these sales, which happened, and the sales growth of some around 18 odd percent, the company saw itself flush with a free cash flow of $336 million, which is fantastic. Now, this is a snapshot. I could have gone into a lot of details, but we're not going to be analyzing the financial performance of the company per se beyond these basic parameters, which in any case happen to be pretty impressive, pretty impressive, right? And I'm going to be running you through the business verticals of this company in some time. And that should do when it comes to the understanding of the company. And by the time I run you through the business verticals, you'll be largely having a very well-defined understanding of what this company is all about, what its mission and vision statements are like, how it's structured, what are the various Iric mileposts, what has been its financial performance like, what is the client spectrum like, what's its geographical spread, what is its revenue spread like and revenue split like, and of course, what does it exactly do when it comes to the nature and the DNA of the solutions that it offers in the technology and intelligence solutions space. So I'll be running you through those vertical definitions in some time from now. Thank you.